Welcome to Week in Horror.
All right, you primitive screwheads, listen up.
The podcast that deep dives all the films you love.
You gotta be fucking kidding.
The week they dropped in horror history.
We all go a little mad sometimes.
With your horror hosts, JL.
When a shirtless Sam Elliott with no mustache takes out an alligator with an oar, that's the kind of movie I'm looking for.
Eugene.
And we're just casually just like, yeah, so this is probably the best way to go, light someone on fire. You have to lead.
Alex.
It would not be an original lineup if I didn't have fucking technical difficulty.
Johnny O.
Now, it's not an Amityville, or wherever it's Amityville.
And Aaron.
They got manure to work with and nothing grew from it.
News, trailers, trivia, special guests, and more.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Live show every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central at youtube.com/weekinhorror.
Welcome to prime time, bitch!
And wherever you listen to podcasts.
One by one, we will take you.
Week in Horror. Stay scared.
Who let my kids in here? Oh boy. Welcome, horror fans. It's Wednesday, 7 p.m. Central Time, and that means it's time for another episode of the Turd Polisher 9000, also known as Week in Horror Podcast. The only podcast that's like a wire inside you getting tighter and tighter. Jesus. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this every live. Jesus Christ.
Read much?
No. Not since college when I got my fucking degree in English. Let's try that again. And if you, dear horror fanatic, are listening to us at the top of the week, remember we do this live every Wednesday right here on YouTube. Come hang out and see all the stuff our editor doesn't want you to see, like that flub just now. This week we're covering select horror films released July 9th through July 15th. Fuck off, we're not in July.
We are in July.
Thank you all so much for joining us. I'm not JL, like the script says. I'm Johnny
son
O.
of a bitch. I fixed ever. I fixed everything but that.
There it is.
God, mother puss bucket.
I mean, it happens every single week. Every week, JL. It wouldn't be a Week in Horror show without it. Anyway, JL, who's not that way.
He's not this way.
And then Eugene, who's not that way.
Good evening, everyone.
What's up, everybody?
You can tell we're a bunch of fucking professionals here. This is how we do it.
Man.
Live shows. That's what makes live shows so much fun. You know, that's why live theater will never replace film, because film you always see the perfect ending. With live theater is always you never know what's going to happen, which is why you're supposed to know what's going to happen, but you never know what's going to happen.
That's why I like, what was that? Birdman was great.
Yes.
Shows up naked from the wrong side with no gun, just holding his finger out like this. Somebody hands him the gun.
God, Michael Keaton is such a fucking legend, man. I love that dude so much.
Terrific.
Oh, wow. Okay. Speaking of which, you know, you just brought it up. Michael Keaton, Beetlejuice 2.
I know. I talked about it weeks ago. Nobody believed me. I was like, no, it's fucking happening.
Winona Ryder's back. Catherine O'Hara's back. Michael Keaton is back. Jenna Ortega comes in as kind of like, I guess,
Lydia Jr.
As Lydia's daughter, but obviously, you know, Tim's jumped on the Jenna Ortega train. He absolutely has.
Whoa.
Oh, your camera went out, Eugene. I don't mean it like that. Get your mind out of the fucking gutter, dude.
Fuck. God,
I myself am almost on the Jenna Ortega train because everybody. I mean, she was fantastic in Wednesday. She was absolutely brilliant in Wednesday. I thought she has good chemistry with the other actors in the two Scream movies she's done, and she's done decent work. She's a talented actress. And Wednesday, that's the most I've liked her seeing her work was in the series Wednesday. It'll be interesting to see how she develops that arc in season 2. So I'm really curious about that. But it took me a long time to get on the whole like Jenna Ortega train to be like, yeah, she's like the new this. And I can see that Tim Burton is kind of like, he's found like a new, and I hate to make this, it's a weird comparison to make, but essentially it's kind of like the new like a young Helena Bonham Carter that he could pick up. She's dark, she's moody, she's deadpan, and she can delay. She's got those big wide anime eyes. And so
Tim Burton hired her because she's Jenna Ortega. Okay. She's a name. She's bankable right now.
Yeah, she's bankable, but Burton has a specific aesthetic that he looks for.
Yeah. He could get anybody in that aesthetic he wants because he's just that fucking.
No, he can't.
Yes, he can.
It's like for like the longest time, it was two actors: it was Johnny Depp and Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah, but there was also Winona Ryder. This is not her first or her second or her third Tim Burton film.
Well, you know how she got the Wednesday gig, right? So she was actually in the middle of filming X, and she filmed her death scene.
I hear a voice, but I don't.
Yes, it is the speaking icon. That's the camera. It doesn't. I don't know. I'll try to fix it a little bit. But
it's the inverted nipple on the screen.
But what ended up happening was she filmed her death scene in X. Right. And so she was covered in blood. And then she literally filmed that scene, went straight to the airport, flew to her audition for Wednesday, and showed up covered in blood.
Wow.
And Tim Burton was like, I like it.
Nice. Gotta love it. Gotta love it.
All I'm saying is that she was a name. And
well, she's bankable
right now, but not at that
I'm not
time.
saying that she's I'm not saying she's a bad actress. I'm not saying she's not good at what she does, because she definitely brought something. And there goes Eugene. Eugene says, "Fuck this, I'm out."
You will not disparage Jenna Ortega, motherfucker.
Fuck off, yeah. And I'm not going to. All I'm saying is that she's not somebody. I don't look at her and go, "Oh yeah, she could rival Toni Collette, or she could rival Helen Bonham Carter." You know what I mean? She's good. She's just, for me, she's like, okay, all right. I don't hate her. I don't hate her.
As a matter of fact, I think it's Helena. Helena Bonham
gives
Carter.
a shit.
But I love Helena. I do. I've loved everything that she's done. I especially loved her in Big Fish. That she was fantastic. But yeah, I'm very curious. I'm interested to see. She's caught my attention. She caught my attention with Wednesday. Saw her in X. I felt this a little bit of a throwaway. Saw her in, of course, Scream. There we go. And
you were talking.
But Wednesday, she really got my attention. I thought that was really, really strong, and I really, really good chemistry with her fellow actors. And so I'm looking forward to what she can do from there. Plus, I also would like to see a kind of a sister comedy, or like not really sisters, but a sister comedy with Aubrey Plaza, because the two of them work so phenomenally together. I'd love to see that.
I don't know. Nice. I think that'd be too much. That would be too much dark and brooding.
Maybe, but I want to see it. All right. So before we dive into, we got one thing we got to take care of before we dive into tonight's selections. But first, let's see who's in the live chat. And we got to make sure we always get it up. Bam! There's our Patreon banner. All of the amazing people who make the show possible. What?
Easy, man. That's two. Good Lord.
Two what?
First, you're running a train on Jenna Ortega, and I got to make sure and get it up. God bless you.
You're such a douche. Anyway, so there are all the.
You got to get it up for the train.
Oh, geez, what happened? Sucks.
I'm trying to work here. Okay. But there's all the amazing people in the banner that help us to make the show possible. So thank you a huge amount to all of our amazing patrons who.
You're about to say thank you, Huge Jackman.
Huge jacked man. So thank you all so much. We do appreciate it. And let's see who we got in the live chat tonight. I see Casey Cooper's here. Good to see you. Says well met and beyond. Thank you so much, Casey. Thanks so much for being here. And I see Travis Brown is here. Says good evening, everyone. Hope you did not get visited by zombified Uncle Sam last night. I did not see him, but he definitely does want your brains. Excellent. Strange Like 790 is here. Says hello. Why do you always choose to talk when I'm talking?
I think you talk when I'm talking.
Oh, she's such a dick. Strange Lex 790. Good to see you. Says hello, everyone. Jay Verse is here. Good to see you, Jay Verse. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. Let me see who else we've got. Sarcasm is in the house. Sup, ghouls? Hey, Sarcasm, I sent you a message via Discord. Be sure you get back to me. I just wanted to get your opinion on something, so let me know. Christo Kiernan is here. Good to see you, Christo. Joshua Lee is here. So good evening, everybody. We missed you at the last debate, Josh, but hopefully we'll see you on the next one because we got a good one coming up. Tony Regime is here, so with the boo and obligatory ghosts. Thank you, Tony. Appreciate it. Nemo813 says, hello, all you scary people. Definitely. Johnny O being the scariest of them all. Denova28 says, hello, my friends and gentle nerds and Johnny. Good to see you, Denova. Thanks so much for being here. That's why you were like third in that list.
Yeah, I know. I get it. I'm acknowledging that I'm not gentle. I'm like coarse grade fucking sandpaper.
just ask his wife. Oh, Travis Brown says jail needs to upgrade to the turd polisher 10,000 soon. I do.
This episode, actually.
This bad boy is running on its last legs, man. It's bad. It's really, really bad. Let me see. Travis Brown says the 9,000 is breaking down Nemo813, so he needs to upgrade it. I do need to upgrade it. I do.
9,001. Oh, wait, no, I'm working on the one that needs 9,001. Fuck.
Claire View is here. Good to see you, Claire. Says hello there, all. Good to see you, Claire. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. And I see Sherry Tilly is here. Says, hey, everyone. Good to see you, Sherry. Frayed edges. And that's one thing I don't like. It always spells out the emojis. So, but thank you, Frayed Edges. I appreciate you hanging out tonight. Elizabeth S. as well. Good to see you.
Elizabeth.
Sarcasm says she ain't no Meryl Streep. That's true.
Fair. That's not a fair comparison, though. I mean, Meryl Streep is Meryl Streep, and that's it.
True.
I did say Toni Collette though, so and Toni Collette is Toni Collette. She's fucking amazing. So
she's like a national treasure.
Yes.
Joshua Lee says Raul Julia is the definitive Gomez, in my opinion. I would agree with that. I would just say
Dad was good.
Luis Guzman, who is like the best of all the Guzmans. Luis Guzman is solid as if you look at like the original comic iteration of what Gomez was, like Gomez by comparison to Morticia. So I liked that. In that he's short, he's kind of on the big side, he's kind of goofy looking, but Morticia is who she is and loves him anyway. So I will always love Raul and Angelica Houston because come on, that God mia, that was chemistry. But I did like the Wednesday iterations of them as well. Let me see. Archangel's here. Good to see you, Archangel. Javier Hara as well. Says, hey, I'm not here. Oh, Javier is not here. Sorry, Javier. Didn't mean to call you out. I see the name. I put it up. What the fuck do you want from me? Skooma Cat, good to see you. Says, hello. Thanks so much for hanging out tonight. And I see that. Oh, and Colin, definitely not Cromwell. Says, hello, everyone. Good to see you, Colin. Thanks so much for being here. You all rock. Thank you so much. And we're doing fantastic tonight, Skooma. Thank you very much for asking. So, we have one thing we got to do, and I've got it right here.
No, you don't.
The official bloodbath coin toss.
You can't. You're a combatant. You can't flip your own coin. It's cheating.
Okay, then I won't flip my own coin. We got to get you an official coin.
I have an official coin. It's a U.S. minted official coin.
That's just another coin. Anyway, so John Astin was also really good as Gomez. John Astin is legend. He was fantastic as Gomez in the series. I really enjoyed Raul Julia because Raul Julia was just amazing for before he passed. But the Luis Guzman, I think, is just more in line with like the original vision of what Gomez looks like. Plus, he handled the part great. But yes, it is bloodbath coin toss time because we got to set up who's going to go. So this month.
Did we finally figure it out? Did we actually figure out who was going to be like the combatants other than you, who you're facing?
Yes, it is me and Angela.
Okay.
So it's me versus Angela. And I'm really, really excited to do this one. So I don't know who I'm going to choose. But for all the people listening out there, the bloodbath debate this month is going to be Belial from the Basket Case series versus Giorgio from Castle Freak. So mutated, malformed monsters that hide and taking each other on. So it's going to be
in a basket. The other one comes in a basket. I mean, comes from a basket.
So tonight's bloodbath coin toss, because of the last one, I will call it in the air, and the winner of this toss will get to choose which villain they want, and then we'll.
So is Angela giving you her choice if she wins the coin toss?
She has not given me her choice.
Oh no!
Because she hasn't watched the Basket Case series, And I don't even, she's not really a huge Handlewater fan anyway, but she'll have to watch it if she chooses it. But she hasn't watched Basket Case, and she has definitely not seen Castle Freak.
I can't say that I blame her. Fuck.
This is gross. Both of these are so gross. So whenever you're ready, Johnny, do the coin toss, and I will call it in the air.
This is the it kind of looks like a demonic. Look at that fucking guy. His eyes are glowing and shit. But this is your standard 5-cent piece. Okay. Call in the air.
Tails never fails. Tails never fails.
Oh shit! I dropped. Fuck. It slipped off my hand. Sorry.
Tails never fails.
It stayed the same.
It's Tails.
Yes,
what the fuck? How does that work?
I don't know.
It never fails.
It never fails. That's why.
It never fails. Okay. I honestly don't know who I'm going to choose between these two. Giorgio from Castle Freak or Belial from Basket Case. Holy shit. I'm torn. You know, oh, son of a bitch. You know what? I'm going to decide later. I can't decide right now.
No.
I have to decide right now?
Yeah, you can't be like, oh, I have the freedom to decide. Now our first movie's going to be. No.
Son of a bitch. Okay.
Gene has spoken.
All right. You know what? I'm taking Belial from Basket Case.
I knew you were going to take Belial.
Yeah.
Fuck. We all knew that. You know why you pretended like you got to think about it.
I had to think about it.
No, you did. We all knew it was going to be Belial.
All right. I'm taking Belial from Basket Case.
It's going to be Belial.
Casey Cooper says I should flip a coin. Here we go. Heads, I'll take Belial, and tails, I'll take Giorgio.
You have to flip a coin to decide which.
Son of a bitch! It's Belial. Okay, it was meant to be. All right, so I'll take that. So yes, but thank you. I see that there's the chat itself is also kind of divided between the two. I think I'm going to win it. I'm going to argue it. So, but definitely, if you get the opportunity, the Bloodbath debates come out at the top of every month, and then of course, if you are one of our patrons, you get early access to it, so you can hear what went down, and be sure to get your predictions in for who's going to win that. Will it be me or Angela? Will it be Giorgio or will it be Belial? So I'm curious. I'm looking forward to this one. Travis Brown says, "Do it again, Jail." I cheated. He cheated to get heads. Sarcasm that will be.
Look, he was going to take Belial. We all knew it was going to happen. Okay.
Sarcasm
was like Belial.
Sarcasm that it was his Basket Case series or the single OG. It'll be the villain itself. So across the entire spectrum. So the whole thing, and there's Castle Freak, and there's Castle Freak the remake, which is the one that you saw, Johnny. Because the original one had Jeffrey Combs in it. The second one that is the gruesome remake of that. But so there's two in the Castle Freak saga, and then there are 3 in the Basket Case franchise.
Yes, Casey Cooper. We make sure that Angela gets a word in.
We absolutely do. Oh, she's not going to be happy with me with having to watch Castle Freak. She's not going to be pleased about that.
Don't let her watch the remake. Fuck. You guys ever want to, if you ever want to, see a vagina the same way, don't watch that.
Fred Edge says, not the first time Jail cheated to get head.
Whoa.
If you don't cheat, you don't want it bad enough.
Whoa. I've never cheated. That's what I'm saying.
It's you. It's on YouTube.
I was just delaying this movie.
Johnny, awkward.
Eugene, what amazingly wonderful movie do we have up first?
All right, so we have Cloverfield, which was released July 10th, 2004.
What? Wait, what?
I'm sorry, JeruZalem.
Wait, what?
Yeah, you mean Clover? You mean Cloverfield in Israel? Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, there was a kaiju Nephilim in there, so.
Yeah, I mean, like really, really straight. Yeah, but anyway, so yeah, released July 10th, 2014. Roll it.
Or not. You don't have to. It sucks.
They want us to.
Oh my god, I can't believe we're really going! What's our seat number again? How's he doing? What?
We've now reached our destination.
Welcome to Jerusalem.
A church next to a synagogue, next to a temple, all stuck together.
Look where we are! It's insane! The city is awesome!
If you don't believe in God, you came to the wrong city.
Yom Kippur, Judgment Day. It's not the sky that's opening up tonight. It's the ground.
It's religious bullshit.
They're closing the gates. They're not letting anybody out of the city. Come on! Come on!
Wait a minute, Jerusalem isn't a fucking
This is going to be the best vacation ever.
That is JeruZalem, directed by Dorian Paz and Johan Paz, starring Yale Goblas, Jan Termenken, Daniel Jaden, and Tom Graziani. And basically, you have some tourists that go to Jerusalem to go do some sightseeing, and basically a biblical apocalypse happens, kind of flying zombies. Type of thing that kind of happens. And I want to tell you right now,
thing since flying fucking since the ass blasters. Okay, it's the stupid.
The ass blasters and Trevor's.
So when I made the joke earlier about Cloverfield, it's fucking Cloverfield. You have the giant kaiju that's walking around.
Like the giant kaiju Nephilim, which came out of nowhere, and I wasn't anticipating it myself. I was kind of like,
"Wait, hang on, wait." Movie came out of nowhere. They need to go back to where it came from. So fucking bad.
Like every aspect, because they have to go rescue somebody. So like in Cloverfield, they have to rescue the girlfriend, and then what happens? One of them gets infected. They go down in the tunnel with the infected person, just like Cloverfield happens. Except they didn't have Cloverfield's budget to finish. So like the last part of the movie is just in this dark tunnel.
Until they run outside, it's just to set up the deal where she
forever.
Well, she goes.
The pacing of this movie is so bad. It is so fucking slow. It takes forever to set up to get to where we're actually doing the cool shit. There's no real cool shit, but the scary shit, right? It takes forever to get there, and then when we're there, it's not good. It's just slow, and it's like, fuck. Will you fucking kill these fucking people already? For fuck's sake.
Well, I think the primary issue on that one, and what I think what worked for and worked against the movie in itself was the use, essentially this being a POV horror film instead of like a found footage horror film.
That's just a different way of saying this is bear shit versus dog shit. It's still shit.
So the difference being the difference between POV horror and found footage horror, they wanted to kind of do something different with the POV standpoint, and that was the introduction of the Google Glass, and then the kind of forced deal where she loses her other glasses and is forced to use the Google Glass throughout as the kind of like the way for the audience to interact interestingly with the film itself. So they're trying to do something a little bit different and reinventive when the Google Glass was kind of at the height of its popularity. It's like, ooh, look at this. And then it turned out it's not really that good anyway. But I found it to be interesting because it served a purpose that I wasn't initially anticipating. I was like, ooh, Google Glass, that means that you'll have some like a heads-up display on the deal, a heads-up display on the film itself. But what I found interesting is that it allowed for exposition in the film where normally that exposition would be bogging down the dialogue going on. So you have but you also have a combination of exposition to the audience, but also internal monologue with the primary character that you're following, with the POV. So you have what's influencing her moving through this perspective. So I enjoyed that from a storytelling perspective. I thought it was interesting, but it also works against it because in order to establish that, it draws the pacing out way too slow.
The fucking thing
right.
down. So
it's because we have to get used to the idea of like pop-ups and heads up, all that shit.
Right.
So
Essentially what it does. Yeah, you're right. It was an inventive way to change exposition, because exposition is usually long, boring, and drawn out. So therefore it defeated its own purpose because it was long, boring, and drawn out. It's like, fuck sake. We get it. Google Glass. Awesome. Fucking move this shit along already. God damn it.
See, I was like, it's like they had a good idea, but I think they had an interesting idea. But the Paz brothers, who have a really good history, a really good filmmaking pedigree, I think they said, "Oh, this could be intriguing and work for an interesting trope, a way to kind of reinvent the POV." But when it started going, it was like, "Oh, damn it!" So it was like when you have new technology. You try to implement that technology and you don't really know what's going to happen once you're in the field working it. And so it's like, well, how are we going to do this and do this and do this? And then you realize, oh, damn it. In order to convey that exposition across with no action really going on in the scene, because they're just looking around Jerusalem, when you have to convey that, you're going to get stuff popping up. And it not only says, oh, cool, I have the exposition there, but it's distracting my eyes away from what's going on. And so you're constantly moving back and forth. And with no action happening, everything seems to drag. So it's like moving between, it's like being interrupted by ads, which is really probably, when you're surfing on the internet. So I felt it was a cool idea, but not really thoroughly thought out, because they really tried to implement it in an interesting way. So I don't think this was like a slightly like, ooh, let's jump on this because this is going to be great. And they just threw an idea out there. I think they thought about it and then really tried to implement it well. And it's just funny because somebody said, Sir Cab said, fatal error, never fatal, kept working. Obviously not a Microsoft product. This is true.
Yeah. What you got, Eugene?
Well, to see, the thing is you get this POV feel, but you don't get the cool camera stuff that goes with it. So when you look at a movie like Hardcore Henry, which came out the following year or about the same time, Hardcore Henry, it has the POV style, but at the very least, you have these cool camera movements of like during the car chase, and he's jumping from car to car to motorcycle, and you're like, man, that's impressive. Jumping out of a window, going all the way down.
Some parkour style shit.
Yeah, some really, really impressive stuff. Whereas with this, you don't have any of that. It's just her running. That's it. She's running and she's freaking out. And the problem is that the characters aren't likable by any means.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about any single one of these fucking pieces of shit.
They're like a pain in the ass when like the army guys like abandon them and they come back again, and she's like, "Fuck you! You left me! You left me!" I'm like, I can't blame them. They're like, this building, like, hey, everybody's probably dead in this building. There's crawling creatures. I gave you 2 minutes. You didn't find them in 2 minutes. I'm gonna go back and try to get out of here. They're also for doing that.
They're also military. They have a mission. They have like orders that they're doing, and if the orders were to get in there and get out in a specific amount of time, they got to follow it. They're not going to hang around. So you go on your side quest so that they can then they can carry on with their shit. There were problems in the characterization, and by the time we get to the moment at the very, very end when she's using the glass and out of all of this chaos, runs into the demon that happens to have been her brother who committed suicide, I was kind of like, well, that was fortuitous that you ran into the one demon who kind of like gave you a pass so you could get out. It was like, come on, man.
Yeah.
By that time,
of all things, though, like I want to comment on the story, because the story is stupid. It is just bad. It's bad story writing. Storytelling is terrible. Oh, my brother committed suicide. I know how I'm gonna get over it. I'm gonna go to fucking Jerusalem. Are you fucking kidding me? Oh, demons are going to be crawling up out of the ground. Let's get out of the city. Hey, how do you do that? Let's go underground. The fuck, man? Let's make every stupid cabin in the woods decision we can to make sure that we get the most carnage, but we never get the carnage.
We never do, because what happens is at the end, where they're in the underground area, you have all these characters die because it's pretty much the climax of the movie, and you can't see shit.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like way too dark, way too just way too dark. And but I am glad I will say this. Say a small saving grace doesn't save the movie. At least they didn't try to implement some sort of night vision thing, because I cannot fucking stand that when night vision implemented completely out of sorts. Now, if one of the military dudes had brought it with him, if one of the military guys had brought it with him, and then he died, and then the character picked it up and utilized it, that would be different. But if just throwing it in there is kind of like now it's all creepy because it's all in that electronic green,
You remember Days of Thunder, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Yeah, right. So there's a scene in Days of Thunder where Tom Cruise's character pulls off, and then the pit boss comes over and says, when you get out there, I want you to go hit the pace car. He says, what? Hit the pace car? Why? Well, you've hit everything else out here. I want you to be perfect. Kind of where I was with the fucking, with the night vision. Yeah, fucking shit all over the rest of this film. Might as well be perfect.
Ultimately, it boils into it. You are correct. You were correct in that. I felt it was just a repurposing of the zombie genre. It was because, unlike a movie like Legion, where the demons have a specific characterization that sets them apart from the idea of just like monsters running around spreading infection and people transforming into that shit, which is ostensibly what this was.
Fucking burn.
Which I enjoy. I liked that. I liked the more the more grounded in their source material, like Legion did. But in this particular one, they're mindless monsters running around infecting other people, and couple that with extremely dumb decisions. And in a post-World War Z kind of reality, when you see people making smart decisions, as to what's going on. And then this one is like dumb people doing dumb shit, panicking all over the place. And a trope that was interesting, but implemented, I think, badly, because they didn't really think it through as to how it was going to work from a narrative perspective. There were elements that I enjoyed. I liked filming on location because this was filmed on location in Jerusalem. I really enjoy seeing those locations in real life because there's magnificent production value there. So like those narrow little alleyways and little side streets and the fact that you're out of your element. I like those attributes. The problem is that the actresses that they chose for don't utilize that space like they should. So that goes to the characterization as well. So
part of that is because it's a repurposed found footage, and then so you have all these beautiful locations. And Jerusalem is a very beautiful city. From everything that I've seen, I would love to have seen it done better, and not we're going to do the Google Glass, which is really just this is just another way of doing found footage, so you don't have to worry about good cinematography. You can just blame it on the fact that it was a stylistic decision. Well, yeah, your stylistic decision is fucking shit. You don't
have to worry about writing the dialogue either, because it was like, infographic pops up, gives information audience needs. We don't need the characters to talk about it. So
yeah, I mean, I really wish they would have gone with a different visual style. You could have still used the technology and whatnot, the Google Glass type thing, sparingly. I think it would have worked better. It would have definitely picked the fucking pace up. But I would like to have seen a more cinematic.
The shame is, I really, what was missing is, I think what the Paz brothers decided that they didn't want, because when you're in Jerusalem, and then they actually touch on something interesting, which was Jerusalem syndrome, which I found is an actual phenomena, which I found to be really, really interesting, but they spend almost zero time on it. The thing that was missing from this being that this is essentially Travis Brown says, so it's a biblical version of World War Z, kind of. Like the gate of hell. There's a gate of hell in Jerusalem. It's opened up, and these demons are coming out, and they're infecting people, turning them into demons and such. But the thing that makes a biblical movie interesting, especially a biblical apocalyptic movie interesting, is the discussions that are being had between people regarding the events that are going on. Even in the face of the apocalypse, there are still going to be skeptics. There are going to be hardcore believers. Ideologies are pinpointed, and that leads to interesting dialogue options between the different characters, depending upon each individual's ideology, if your characters are thought through enough. The problem is, we didn't have that. That would have been interesting to fill that out, instead of having Google Glass popping up, random information. It's like, okay, now I have more information on that. But to have the characters interacting,
I thought they were going to go into that when they went to the church for that one moment.
Right.
And I was like, oh, they're going to talk about the religious implications of what's going on. And they never did.
Nope.
It was a perfect opportunity to it as well. It's like, okay, we're here. We're good to regroup. Now, while we try to come up with a plan, let's try and reconcile some shit. And you've got like the atheist soldier and the believer soldier and other individuals from different parts of the world, and how they're trying to like reconcile the fact that monsters are flying through the air, giant kaiju Nephilim is walking through the streets. How do we do this? And that never happens. It never happens. It all boils down to just conflict. Oh, you made a bad decision. This was your blah, 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 yada, yada. What are we going to do? Panic, yada, yada. Let's take the tunnels. That sounds like a great fucking idea. No. But
not to mention, and even going back to that scene in the church, like this movie telegraphs so many different things, because as soon as she was standing by the window, you're
fucking hell, Eugene, right in the middle of the point. You just freeze up on us. You were like, you were fucking full steam. I was like, yes, Eugene is going. And then,
am I back?
Yes, you're back.
But the thing is, this movie telegraphs so many different things, because like when she's standing at the window in the church and she's looking at the bars, and you're just like, and she's just standing there like, oh, yep, this is where she gets it right here. This is where I'm not even paying attention to what she's saying, because I know something bad's gonna happen to her right there in this moment, and boom, she gets infected. Like it's just. It's there's nothing new, there's nothing original, there's nothing anything about this film.
Yeah. Tony Regime says even Ghostbusters had the religious discussion about the dead coming back, and it was a brief moment, but it was necessary, because you had Ray, who was like he believed in the paranormal, but to a degree, to a scientific degree, to where concepts like God and all these other things. But Winston, a steadfast believer, like he believes these things, so we have two different two characters facing the same obstacle and both interpreting it differently. And that brief little conversation when they're in the car, and how Winston is like, comes up to this point, and even Ray is kind of like, okay, I'm uncomfortable. Let's listen to some music and shit. So, and I like that because it helps build our characters.
There was conflict inside of Ray, because it was a religious conversation. That, see, what people don't understand, when you have good writing, that's an example of really good writing, because that scene is like 2-3 minutes long, right? But it's a very fast scene, and you get some characterization of both Winston and Ray. Winston serving as like the voice of reason in this, talking about, hey, look, maybe the reason why we've been so busy is because the dead have been rising from the grave. And then that's when Ray puts it together, like, holy shit, maybe he's right. And all that happens right there, two people talking, driving a car, 2-3 minutes tops.
It's a good moment.
Great moment, great writing, and then you have shit like this movie where you have all this stuff. And
that's the problem, is that everybody, the characters are written so self-absorbed that they can't think beyond their like what they're currently experiencing, which is aggravating to that respect. Now, I understand it from the military guys, because they're military; they're trained to think in moments of conflict.
A couple of those characters like peppered in, but
because those allow walls, those allow barriers for your other characters to bounce off of, which creates that momentum. But it wasn't there because they lean too heavily into the trope. Liam Wakefield, good to see you. Says, do you reckon that they put the action underground to hide the special effects or the acting? Most likely to hide the special effects, because up close and personal, the demons didn't look all that great. At a distance in shadow, they look kind of cool. But when they're up in your face, it was just kind of like, they're zombies. And Liam, I sent you a message. Be sure to get back to me, because you won a trivia prize, and we need to get your shipping details, bud. Thanks so much for popping in. It's good to see you tonight. Cindy Sue as well. Good to see you. Cindy Sue says, what is JeruZalem syndrome? JeruZalem syndrome is an acute psychotic state observed in tourists and pilgrims who visit Jerusalem. And the main symptom of it is identification with a character from the Bible and exhibiting behaviors which seem to be typical for that character. Typically, it's being overwhelmed by the extreme iconography of the city, and basically inducing a psychotic state, which has been documented. It happens. Which I found to be intriguing, but they mentioned like maybe it's Jerusalem syndrome, blah 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 blah. Okay, we'll move on from that point.
We're done with that. Yeah.
What the fuck? Everything interesting. They moved right by.
Just fucking fly by some interesting shit.
It's like, well, enough of that scene.
And then it's like, okay, it's like you're in a helicopter tour of, let's say, Hawaii, and you just fucking like All this cool shit you missed. We're gonna land in Nebraska.
Yep.
Sorry if you live in Nebraska. That fucking state is boring. It's called a flyover state for a reason. Okay. If you like corn, great. If not,
Yep.
Definitely.
All right. I want to ask the audience, what is your favorite POV horror film?
None of them.
And we can accept kind of like a found footage POV style. Yeah, I think it would have to be like found footage like Cloverfield, but not found footage like the Poughkeepsie tapes. Kind of thing. Because Poughkeepsie tapes isn't like, it has some POV moments and then some like not POV moments.
Well, the Poughkeepsie tapes is all found footage because it's them looking at the footage after the events. And so that when they're scrolling through the old stuff like VHS.
No,
footage.
I mean it's a found footage film,
right.
But I wouldn't necessarily say 100% a POV horror film.
So like POV is where we are with the action as it's taking place in the story itself. So like it comes up as like this one, we're following the character along. So if like anything like Hardcore Henry was it Hardcore Henry? Yeah, if that was a horror film, then that would be a POV.
That would be a POV. I would do like Blair Witch Project is like a POV, but like Paranormal Activity isn't because it has like surveillance footage.
See, I would say Paranormal Activity is a POV because it's happening. Well, no, it's not because technically
it's found footage, but it's not.
That's right, because it's the footage found after the deaths of the family members and the disappearance of the wife. That's right.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to make a public service announcement. These are gross.
What are those? Bean what? Bean boozled. What the fuck is that?
They're spicy jelly beans.
Spicy jelly beans.
Why would you get spicy jelly beans?
My daughter bought them for me, and it's like, hey, eat these. You'll like them. They're not good.
Ooh. Sir Kev says wreck, and DeNova28 also says wreck. Spanish zombie film.
I feel like wreck is just a correct answer.
I feel like wait. There was a correct answer, and it was this one right here. This is
no D. Sarcasm D. None of the above.
None of the above.
Shame.
Correct answer. I'm sorry. It's just a lazy film. It's lazy. It's lazy filmmaking.
It really is. All right. Enough about this one.
Yeah, let's go on to something that's even more unoriginal.
Oh, come on, man. This one was entertaining.
Man, we have an interesting selection today.
All right.
That's what we're going to call it. Yeah.
The next film we have released July 12th, 1985. I don't need the Turd Polisher 9000 for an 80s slasher film.
Yes, you do.
No, you don't. Because 80s slashers are immune to the Turd Polisher. They're amazing in their own right.
I do love 80s slashers when they're done right.
It doesn't mean they're all good.
Released July 12th, 1985. We have Cemetery of Terror. Let's check out this trailer. And yeah, someone mentioned earlier that this episode of Weekend Horror is like a trip around the world because first we were in Jerusalem, and now we're going to Mexico.
Yep.
I fucking love that.
Wait, pause it.
¿Aquí es la fiesta?
Sí.
¿Están seguros de que esta es la dirección?
Challenge.
Claro, ¿qué crees que somos estúpidos o qué? Están haciendo mal. Lo que yo quiero saber es dónde están los 80,000 invitados del Jet Set. ¿No te das cuenta de que son puras mentiras?
Miren lo que encontré. Never a good idea.
Deblum. Pues tales son los falsos apóstoles, los falsarios. No debemos descuidar aquel que tenemos en el mundo, pues estoy aquí para dar fe de mi presencia. Existo en ti, como en cualquier otro hombre.
Yikes.
¿De qué hombre habla?
Del diablo.
Lo importante es encontrar a Deblum. Esa es su responsabilidad.
Él está muy seguro de que Deblum está poseído por el demonio. Estamos equivocados. El diablo no existe.
Susan, ¿no está Tony con tus hijos? ¿No?
Get in there, bitch.
Capitán, esto es algo diabólico, una maldita pesadilla.
Usted lo ha dicho. Es una pesadilla. Y aquí, amigo, todos padecemos de pesadillas.
So the challenge was going to be name all the ripoffs, but JL didn't have any part of it. So,
all right, that was the trailer for Cemetery of Terror, directed by Ruben Galindo Jr., written by Ruben Galindo Jr. and Carlos Valdemar, and starring Hugo Stiglitz. I fucking love that name. Jose Gomez, Raul Meraz, Rene Cardona III, Servando Mazzetti, Andre Garcia Jr., and Maria Rebecca. So the film ostensibly follows a group of teens. Quick, hide in the barn behind the saws. So the film follows a group of teens who are looking to go, basically looking to party, and they go to this abandoned house. And while partying there, they discover a book, and of course, they read from the book, and then they decide to steal a body from the morgue in order to attempt a resurrection, which is just the worst of possible ideas on Halloween. And so they do this, but unfortunately, the body they wound up stealing was the body of a maniac, Satanist, serial killer, monster guy, and they resurrect him. And of course, absolutely, of course, hilarity ensues, or as Julie Eugene says, shit gets real.
Out of all the bodies you're gonna find in the cemetery, you just happen upon.
Oh, the ones in the morgue. It's like, oh, they got like they go in the morgue, and it's like the fucking like the meat shop, man. There's like 15 bodies in there, and the one they choose is the homicidal satanic maniac.
So if you ever think you have bad luck,
yes, like the worst of all possible luck. So I found it okay. So I guess unlike Johnny, I really, really enjoyed this one. I saw all of the inspirations. Obviously, there were many inspirations filmed that they pulled from. I loved but I loved to like the two things. I mean, come on, man. What they take from Friday the 13th.
What didn't they take from?
Phantasm. Children shouldn't play with dead things. Sherry Tilly brought it up. Evil Dead. I mean, come on, dude. This was a slasher film.
I was waiting.
That turned into
running around with fucking finger knives. Okay,
this was a slasher film that turned into a satanic monster film that turned into a fucking zombie film. The movie is awesome, and plus, I just love the fact that it's in Spanish that lent an energy to it that I was not expecting. So there's things that are solid about this film. Not to mention the practical effects are on point. The zombies all look fantastic, and the killer wasn't your typical like malformed monster and shit, but he was a big motherfucker, and he had I'm gonna claw you to death like a giant bear. So I really kind of dug that. It's just somewhat new, I just enjoyed that.
The reference, I'm gonna claw you to death. Okay.
Oh yeah, actually, more like that the South African horror film that we talked about. Where the dude had the razors built into the right, that had the awesome third act. And this one also had a really, really strong third act. I really enjoyed it, despite the fact that you can say, "Oh, I see where they got that. I see where they got that. I see." Even a little bit of John Carpenter in there. But,
Sam Raimi, John Carpenter,
right?
Toby Hooper. I mean,
Don Coscarelli. You've got it all.
All the things that came. And I think the really the reason why we don't see a whole lot of Nightmare on Elm Street is because I think both of those movies were in production at the same time. Because Elm Street came out in what,
84?
84. Yeah. I can't remember if it was late 85 or early 84 or late.
That's why I'm saying it's probably the South African slasher film that we talked about. For the love of me, I can't remember that movie.
I can't remember the name of it either. So the movie isn't awful so much as that it's just a big giant ripoff of a lot of other movies. And if you can get past that, like the special effects, the practical effects, the blood and guts, they're great. That's your typical 80s schlock. That's generally going to be good. it's hard to fuck up 80s slashers when we're talking about blood and guts, because they didn't fucking pull any punches. You want guts? Here's some guts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, on the platter.
That's the thing. Like, it's a fun movie. It's not going to bring anything original, and it's not going to be something that I think is even very memorable. I think it just gets lost into that 80s. Just so many things have come out at that time. It's just kind of lost in the shuffle.
Especially slasher film,
yeah, especially slashers, and it's fun.
It was the demon. It was the demon. Was the South African film? Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun kind of thing. It's like it was kind of neat. It was nice to watch a horror film in Spanish. But other than that, like, that's kind of it.
Yeah, it's not one of those movies that I'm going to go to people like, hey, if you really want to get a taste of 80s slashers, go watch, the Evil Nightmare on Friday Street. I'm not going to know. I'm not going to watch that. We're going to tell you to go watch Evil Dead. I'm going to go watch Nightmare on Elm Street. Go watch, the good shit.
Right. Liam Wade goes, "This says stand still while I kitty cat slash you." Roar. I like, here's the thing that gets it for me. And what I think Eugene may agree with me on this one, even though Johnny may not. In this film for me, it was the pacing. And this film is excellent in showing the power of pacing when shooting a movie of this style. The one thing I dug the most is that your typical American slasher has your specific beats that you need to hit. Typically, the moments leading up to kills, exposition in between kills, and then your eventual body reveal, and then the big showdown with the killer. So you have specific beats in the American formula. But in this particular movie, we hit those beats, but not in any specific order. And I really enjoyed the fact that they never slowed down the pacing of the film in order to fill it in with exposition so that the audience can follow along with the characters. I like the fact that the film didn't treat the audience like, hey, we got to let them catch up. We weren't treated like idiots. We can follow along and we can watch the movie and see what's happening and form our own conclusions while the movie keeps this nice, solid pace all the way throughout. Even in that, it's almost, for example, like you have that moment where there's supposed to be that lull before you engage the fight, the big killer at the end. Fuck no. Zombies. We need to get that shit in there. So there's consistent action moving from part to part. Even the moments when the detective who took down the bad guy and him and when the cops are sitting there having discussions and shit, all of those lead to additional action pieces, to additional material. So I really enjoyed that the pacing never slowed down, which I dug, because you rarely get to see that, because you always expect those lulls going into either jump scares or going into like a big kill sequence, but we never got that. It's always kind of like boom into a big one, and into the next big one, next big one, next big one, until eventually the very end when, unfortunately our detective, I think is fucking possessed by Devlin, who is now possessing him. So I really liked that it never stopped or never slowed down, constantly giving us something interesting to look at. And in the last second, when there's like no more real time, we have some time to fill, have this motherfucker start resurrecting the dead. I like that part really, really good too, because it adds another element. So I thought it was smartly done and well paced by comparison to the films that were coming out at the time.
I mean, if you just go into it, it's just all rise. That's it, just all rise.
Right. I was gonna say it's.
And the thing is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. If you're gonna make a horror action film, then you just keep the action coming. There's absolutely nothing wrong. We'll just keep up it. We're just gonna see how much we can cram in and throw into the film. As I said, it's entertaining.
It's definitely, it's meant there. There weren't any super amounts of scary moments. I do enjoy the fact they put the money where it needed to go. Case Group says, "Oh, hey, got to go. My notification just told me." Oh, very. Oh, thank you, YouTube. We appreciate that support. Yes. Extra J, good to see you.
The fucking show. Thanks, buddy.
Good to see you, Extra J. Thanks so much for being here. But I dug it more than I thought that I would. I was like, okay, it's foreign horror, so maybe there's gonna be something there. But I was like, oh, it got my attention, and it didn't let go, which I enjoyed where they were gonna go with it. And it does kind of have the ambiguous ending. Oh, the bad guy has just possessed the hero now, and now it's the ambiguous ending. But I really enjoyed the pacing, is what made it in this one. Smart filmmaking on behalf of Galindo. He's got a really, really good filmmaking background, and I liked this kind of like his foray into horror films. Not to mention that around the same time, there was another film called Grave Robbers, which came out that came out a little bit later in 1989, which kind of took from this and repaired a little bit of what was done, like some of the missteps, which made it even better. And that's why this was a good inspiration film. Even though it took from a bunch of stuff beforehand, it also further inspired films further down the line.
Yeah, sure it did.
Now, did you know this thing was shot in Brownsville, down in Brownsville, Texas?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
It says in the credits.
Shot on location in Brownsville, Texas, which I thought was cool. I thought it was a little the nice little border town down there. I thought that was kind of neat.
Oh, that's cool.
That's how they captured that pervasive sense of dread from being in Mexico all the time.
Yeah, because you're actually in Texas.
Because it's actually in Texas. I love a film that shoots on location, that goes down and tries to get shoot in an environment that brings that aesthetic to a film. I enjoy like those, those wide open areas, small little town, everything is flat. And I really enjoy it when they take the next step and they go there. You can always fabricate it in a studio or go to an area that's kind of that, but I really enjoy it when they go out there and they really do it. And they try to capture that because your environment is a character in and of itself, and I like that it lends itself to the film appropriately. I like that Galindo did that. That was a smart decision made.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, totally agree in terms of getting the actual scope and getting the feel of the space. I'm always a fan of shooting on location versus studios. I think you just get kind of a better output, a better feel for the space. And though sometimes it can suck dealing with weather, and you got to transport crew and gear and all the other kinds of stuff.
It's 100,000 degrees in Texas,
and it's 100,000 degrees in Texas. But a lot of times you can get a really good output than trying to fake it in the studio.
And Brownsville being so close to the Gulf and everything, being like where you're at, you can imagine that the actors in those zombie outfits, as good as they were fucking miserable because it is humid as shit down there. And it was like, although the set pieces were amazing. Where Galindo chose to shot wide, his close-ups, his Dutch angles, I thought everything was so solid. Just really well planned out. Smart. There were so many good things going for the film, even though it was to a degree derivative. There was a lot of smart things. And if you're going to be derivative intelligently, which is what I think this was, which is why I think this film holds up.
I appreciated this one a lot more than that first fucking thing we watched.
I'm very curious. Was there anything lost in translation from the subtitles to what the characters are actually saying?
I'm not fluent speaker of Spanish by any means, but I will say that most Spanish to English is pretty close. I mean, there are some things like structure wise. And if you get into that, like literal translations, that's where you kind of get fucked up.
Right.
So when you go with, like when you take a phrase and instead of saying, well, that phrase says this specifically, no, what does that phrase mean? And that's kind of where the English to Spanish works when you have people that understand. If you're going to translate, if you're going to have somebody you can hire somebody to do your translations, make sure they speak both languages fluently. Because they'll have an understanding, and then you want to make sure your colloquialisms are correct. Like if you're going from the Queen's Spanish to English, it's going to be different than going from Cuban Spanish to English, or even Mexican Spanish to English. But this one here, I think it was pretty close. I don't think there was anything that was. There was nothing that was weird, from what I saw.
Cindy Sue says, Brownsville, small little town. I was there a year after this film. Oh, there in 1986. Very cool. Cool. Brownsville, I say Brownsville kind of small because Brownsville, last I checked, has a population of like 180,000 people, or maybe 190,000 people.
Not in 86.
Not then. Definitely not in 86. That's 180. That's like 190,000 now. And I say that probably by comparison to living in the DFW airport, growing up in San Diego, and I've lived in big metropolitan cities almost all my life, except for now. Now I'm in a very small town.
Now
But
you live in a town that's population 6 and 2 of them live in your house.
So tiny by comparison, lots of wide open spaces, lots of big open areas that you can go and you can run around in, lots of excellent aged production value, such as like the old cemetery and those big kind of like ranch homes that are out there with big wide open areas that you can have your actors run around is always fantastic. Always makes for good production value. So, but the question I want to ask the audience, and there are a few of them out there, you may not have seen them, but there are a few similar films like Grave Robbers. But I'm curious as to what you think is the best Mexican slasher film. Mexico has a fantastic array of horror films that they've added to the genre, and they all have their own unique energy and unique additions to the genre, which I think make it very, very special. So let us know what you think is the best Mexican slasher film down in the comments below or at weekinhorror@gmail.com, or of course here in the live chat. And I'd like to hear what they say. I really enjoyed this one, although Grave Robbers I thought did it slightly better, just because the production value was a little bit better. They basically took this one and just corrected all the mistakes and improved the production values a little bit. But nonetheless, this one was a really, really solid one. Everybody is saying Machete.
I was just about to ask if like Desperado fucking counts.
And sadly, Danny Trejo was not in this, but I could see Cemetery of
they made a movie without Danny Trejo that has anything to do with Mexico is beyond me. Maybe he wasn't old enough at the time, which
I could see.
He was.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
I could see Cemetery of Terror being remade with Danny Trejo.
Fuck yes. I don't know if I want to have another one of these here jelly beans.
You just keep eating them. You just keep eating them.
They're gross. It's not. I mean, they're a little bit thick, but they just don't taste good. You know what I mean?
Then why do you keep eating them?
I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. It's like whenever you get pain, you're like, "Fuck, did that really hurt?" Yeah, it kind of did.
You know what you remind me of? You know what you're reminding me of? Back in film school, when I was like, when you're forced to like live with your friends and you're pretty much just you communal living and shit. I had a friend who brought home these chips. They were like chili lime. They're not chicharrones, but it's a similar sounding name. It's like a red and green and yellow bag, and they're like it's weird, but they're chili lime. And I tasted them and I started eating. I was like, oh, because there's nothing else to eat. And so I eat these things. And I'm like, oh, those are funky. It's like, huh. And then by the time I'm done, I'm like 3/4 of the way through it. And I've eaten like 3/4 of the bag itself. And like, why do you keep eating them? I have no idea, man. It's just like this morbid curiosity. It's like it could get better, or it could also get worse. So you don't know what's going to happen. Joshua Lee says they're gross. Nom 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 nom. Hey, Joshua Lee, they weren't pork rinds. I can't remember the names of these damn things, but they were like it was some kind of chip. So
the flavors are terrible.
Sarcasm says, I am for a remake. Write up a treatment and give Trejo a call. He'll do anything.
That's true.
This is true. Ed City Sue says, oh yeah, he was out of prison at the time.
He was.
Oh, good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Oh,
nice.
Man.
All right, Johnny. And as I think Sarcasm said, the special effect, the practical effects in this were solid, but they were shit compared to this next film. So
that's true.
Johnny, why don't you?
That is very true.
That is, except understatement of the year.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the taste of that. I don't know what the fuck that was supposed to be. Oh, Jesus. God, that was
it just like cinnamon or
no. I think it was supposed to be Carolina Reaper, but it did not taste like a Carolina Reaper. It tasted like
Carolina butthole.
Yeah,
a Carolina butthole. A Carolina butthole after it ate a Carolina Reaper.
Maybe. Oh, it's just it's just nasty. All right.
You should have put some mayonnaise on it. It would have made it better. That face. That.
Oh, what happened? We lost Dale again. Fuck.
That's the face.
Yeah, earwax, Casey Cooper. It tastes like fucking earwax.
But I
All
saw
right, so
you.
let's,
I saw you eating the Harry Potter jelly beans.
No,
You've had
no,
those.
No, I have, but no, the ones you saw me eat on, those were the same company, so I should have fucking known better. Jelly Belly. Jelly Belly makes good jelly beans, except when they're doing their Bean Boozled shit. And these are supposed to be like, these are the hot ones, and they just taste gross. But the other ones I had were the regular Bean Boozled, where it was one's a good one and one's a bad one. Eugene's had them. I gave Eugene one.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh, it's a 50-50 chance. Like, bullshit. I had one good one out of like 20. It was not 50-50.
Well, why would you subject yourself to something like that? You buy a box of candy, it's like 50% of it's going to be good, 50% is going to make you hate yourself.
Yeah. All right.
50% of it you're really going to enjoy. The other 50%, it'll be like watching the end of The Mist.
just on repeat.
I enjoyed the end of The Mist. What's wrong with you guys? It's such a good ending. Anyway, now that rabbit tangent whole thing is done, obviously we're talking about is it French? Is it
French?
Yeah,
French film. Yeah. We're talking about the French film Inside from 2007. Get your wretch buckets ready. Fuck, you know.
This one's fucking intense.
I just want to note that there are a lot of words that showed up there that had a lot of letters, and you only pronounce like 2 of them. That's all I'm saying. Fuck the French language. We're Inside, or à l'intérieur. I don't fucking speak French. That's a 2007 French horror film directed by Julien Maury and Alexandre Dumas, and starring Bustillo. Starring Beatrice Daly, Alison Paradis, written by Bustillo. It's a Christmas Eve type thing because who doesn't like Christmas time horror? It's 4 months after a pregnant woman, Sarah, survives a car crash that kills her husband. Fuck, this is what Hellboy started a movie, by the way. And with being depressed about her husband's death, she kicks everybody out of her life essentially, and then this fucking crazy lady shows up and says, "Hey, let me help you out with your life." Stabby, bloody.
Wants to open her gift early.
He wants, well, no, because baby's overdue. Right? Baby's overdue. So baby needs to get out of there, but she's like, snip, bitches. Fuck. Shit really does get real in this one.
Yeah, like really brutal.
You know how I said like there are words in French that have a lot of letters that you don't say any of them? Well, the French treat buckets of blood this way. of a lot of buckets of blood, but they use all of them. Fuck.
They absolutely do. I have to admit,
special effects. That's all I'm going to say about this movie, because I don't like reading films, but I will say this one is the gore effects were terrific.
I would have to say that given the high level of production value that went into this, and the savage brutality of the film, you could watch it with the French or you could watch it with the subtitles, and either way, you're going to be able to follow what's going on quite well. Everything is conveyed in the sense that
there's not a whole lot of speaking. Yeah, that's true.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
And what is said, I think convey. You can pick up on the emotions well enough,
That's
and everything is
one
so phenomenally acted. Like
well,
the
one thing I will say, I cannot stress this enough about French filmmaking specifically. They do not waste dialogue ever.
No.
If it's spoken, like I imagine that whole script for that film we looked at was probably as thick as these 10, 15 pieces of paper, because there's not a whole lot of dialogue. What dialogue is there is extremely important to the story. It's not something that they're going to be like, oh, hey, how's the weather? Oh, kind of rain on me today. No, there's none of that fucking bullshit. They get into and they say, we're going to, you know what? Dead husband, car crash, boom, fucking do it. That's why we're starting the movie. Okay. Kick the mom out, fuck her off, and then get the killer lady in there as quick as possible. That's how we're doing this shit. They do not waste any time.
It's hard. Okay, so obviously, a film like this is one of the more extreme, intense ones. It's a brutal and unflinching horror film. Doesn't leave anything to the imagination, and truly descends into the depths of both human desperation and human depravity, and of course the will to survive. I have to say, there were moments in this I thought were phenomenally shot. The cinematography was great. And I loved what really sold it was the lighting aspects. It was how each individual area of the house played into a different scope of essentially what was going on, not only with the psycho, the woman who's come in to steal the baby, but also with the victim as she's trying to survive. She's holed herself up in the bathroom. I thought every moment it was gripping, and this is the beauty of what is called the French New Wave, French New Extreme. So the point and purpose of a film to this degree, and this is the kind of like big thing that was interesting about this one, to examine a plight like this. Now, the inspiration of this film, it was an event that actually took place. It was a woman that actually did this in real life, and that was the inspiration behind this movie. Was an actual event where a woman did this to another woman, and so in this one, it examines that to a degree and shows you the brutality of it, in a sense that creating art that is it's hard to say if it's even controversial because it's so reality based, but it's the point that kind of like being aware of that is what's important, and the dialogue that it generates from that. And I found that was the need where this film really comes across, is bringing that to the forefront and then examining the motivations of like this apparently unmotivated killer, and then the reveal that she was the woman in the other car at the beginning of the film. So there was a life lost in that accident other than her husband, and that's what's triggered this whole event. And so, hinted at as well, and I gotta say a little bit of foreshadowing when she meets her at the doctor's office. She's sitting right there smoking a cigarette next to her, and they have that brief conversation, where that one-sided conversation, and it's like, oh, and then you have that back and forth right there, which is, foreshadows what's going on. The different mentalities of these two women, one who's lost a child, and then one who's lost a child who's single and lost a child that she desperately wanted, and one who's lost her husband and has seemingly lost all interest in the fact that she's about to have a baby because of that loss. So these two worlds colliding is just so absolutely brilliant and kind of like heartbreaking in that. It's really that the violence in and of itself kind of speaks for, the violence speaks for itself in that. And that's what makes a film like this compelling.
Well, see, this is the thing about when you look at extreme new wave of French films. We look at films like Inside. You look at films like Martyrs. You look at films like High Tension. You look at these these films that's come about is these films are designed to get a reaction. And there's no holds bar in it. You're not necessarily guaranteed the happy ending because this film doesn't have a happy ending.
No,
you are guaranteed to react to it. And we've talked about with films before. It's like, what's the worst thing about a film? Worst thing about a piece of art in general is apathy, where someone's like,
Could do without it.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't care. And French New Wave basically says, no, you're going to feel something. You're either going to be grotesque, or you're going to marvel at the gore, or it's going to sear into your brain. It's going to make you flinch. We are going to get a reaction out of you. And you don't
but
know
I think
how
that's
it's
French
going to
filmmaking in general, right? If you look at French films, even outside, look at La Femme Nikita, you look at French inspired films, they're very much like that. We're going to put you in uncomfortable situations, whether you like it or not, because you're going to think about it. The French New Wave, they just like, nah, we're going to fucking ramp that shit up to a bazillion. Fuck you. Here's some blood and guts.
Yeah, like this is what you want to get. Every kill is going to be gory. There's not this like, oh, they died quietly off screen. No, you're getting the side of your head blown off.
Even the guy who died, even the guy who died off screen, you get to see the aftermath of that shit. Like, no, look, this is his head crushed in. Cool. Yeah.
This one was visceral to me. I mean, if there was ever a movie that made me yell at the screen a number of times, because just I get that it is fucking I get that it's it's in France. I get that this is a French film, and they do things operationally different. They're from like both a law enforcement standard and from a number of things are different there. But I could not help but be screaming at the film because you identify so much with the lead actress, and I have to give it to her. Allison Paredes as Sarah was fucking phenomenal in this from beginning to end through her entire arc. When she finally, especially the sequence in the end when it takes place in the kitchen, and it's my favorite sequence in this entire film is when she's got her in the kitchen and they're facing off, and she manages to crack her with the freaking the toaster, and then she is standing above her, all like superior, smoking a cigarette. She hits her with the fucking spray and sets her on fire. I very rarely do you get the opportunity to identify with a protagonist to this degree, especially in her arc, going from her depression and looking for any kind of thing to hold on to, and then boiling down to this, that mama bear energy that she finally found, in that moment, to go to the extent of having to trach herself in order to survive and carry on like this, but you wind up screaming. You scream at the officers for the mistake, for the panicky decisions that they make. You scream at her for not yelling at specific moments. You scream at, and when she has that fucking like spear thing she makes, and she like that, and I'm like, fucking kill this bitch, and unfortunately these things, they don't play out that way because real life doesn't work that way all the time. We'd like to think as an audience that in given situations we would react a certain way in the best way possible. But the beauty of Tony Regime says, the bitch hit me with a toaster. Yes. Kill the reflexes on this fucking maniac. But reality doesn't work that way. That's why for me, French New Wave it's important as far as, because a lot of people decry it as being, I think it goes beyond exploitation. I think it's the brutal aspects of reality that we never want, that people don't want to deal with. But this is what's interesting. This is where the conversation really, I think, is intriguing, because we're an American audience. Being American, having a different fundamental ideology for the birth of our very freaking country, like the essentially the puritanical foundation of our country itself. France, no such foundation. Okay, France, much older country, long had these conversations and long dealt with this shit, and willing to look at life from a perspective that American audiences aren't. And that's why I think that often American audiences are not as fair to films like this, because this art is the shit that pushes boundaries and forces you to look at certain things, that this is what this is, and you need to deal with this and reconcile this, instead of just like poo-pooing it away. Oh, that's just exploitative trash. That's just blah, 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 blah. It's like, no, it's not. Not to this degree. It's not, there's not excessive like sexuality or anything of that nature. The violence is extreme, but it's not showy to the degree like, like the machete goes up, and then splat. You know, it doesn't go to that degree. This is real. This is essentially real people committing acts upon one another. And that's something that we have to address. We can't run from it.
I wouldn't mistake this film for being exploitative, because there's not an exploitation going on there. It's not like fucking Eli Roth movies where there's no reason for this woman to be shaving her legs right now so she can shave her skin off, right? That's an exploitation, right?
Right.
The kills and the gore and whatnot that happen inside serve a more story purpose than just, you know what, we needed to hit somebody over the head with a toaster just because. We needed to show somebody's head caved in just because. We needed to have guts coming out just because. Like, no, there's a reason, right? This right here, these are the I don't want to say logical aspects or the logical everything is happening because it serves a story. There's a storytelling element there that this does not detract from. The blood and guts don't detract from the story. It enhances it. It amplifies it. That's why I wouldn't say that this is exploitative.
Yeah, I never got an exploitative feel from it. What you're showcasing is the extremities of what this woman will do to accomplish her goal.
Right.
How committed she is, because she showed up at her house with the intent of cutting a baby out of her stomach. And that's what she is dead set on. And she will kill anybody that gets in her way. Anybody without a second hesitation, and in whatever tools that she has around her, and in the most brutal ways possible. That's why it works for this. That's why it works for the story. Because you have to show. So at the end, where it's just like you get to the point where it's like it's a no holds bar. There's nothing off the table that is they're going to go this way, and this is what sets French extreme versus Hollywood. Because Hollywood, they need the money makers. So let's get the happy ending. Let's keep it subdued. Let's do this versus in foreign films, we can take the risk. Hey, we're just going to go. Let's go and let's show something that's brutal, and the audience get behind it.
That's no more evident than in the American remake of this film. So Inside got a remake in 2016 starring Rachel Nichols. People may remember her from Continuum fame. And she had a small part. She was the babysitter in Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds. But Rachel Nichols was in the remake of this film, and I thought that she did exceptionally well, because after I watched the French version, I had, just like Martyrs, I had to go and watch the American version just to see what happens and to see if they're going to tame it, if they have the balls to really go where the story is leading. And unfortunately,
you really should have said, how bad are they going to tame it? That should have been your
or how bad, like how bad are they going to tame it?
Tame this shit, yeah.
How bad will they tame it? And do they have the stones to actually go and do the film right? It's like the difference between the Japanese.
Well, we need to make it. We do need to make a clear distinction here. I don't think it's necessarily the filmmakers, right? It's like the directors and whatnot. I guarantee there are so many that have the stones to do that, to follow through with that. But when you've got film backers, the production houses, they're like, no, we're not going to do that.
And I think that shows this everlasting shyness in America. While we do get the occasional one, unfortunately, they just don't perform well. They just don't. And I think that goes to specifically just the American this American idea, like this idea that evil will never overcome good, that which fights for good will always overcome evil. Evil is instantly recognizable by its black hats and twirling mustaches, and the good guys always wear white, and they always come out on top because they're fighting for the greater good, or fighting for something pure or whatever. And that's what ostensibly, which is so weird, because the American version, while well acted, Rachel Nichols is a fantastic actress, that film follows this one almost beat for beat it all goes down pretty much the same, except for the final conclusion when the last fight falls over into a pool. When they fall into the pool with a pool cover, they fall onto a pool cover. And in order to save the baby, in order to save the baby's life, the killer or the woman who's trying to steal it dives into the pool and saves the baby at the cost of her own life. So so that mama bear energy ends up killing herself. She's willing to sacrifice herself to save the baby she was trying to steal anyway. And Rachel Nichols survives. And then we get the happy ending where the evil person is put down and the good person survives.
Right.
Which took all the teeth out of everything that happened, because it's almost expected because where the story is coming from. In this one, I like the French version because you never knew who was going to, like, at any given point, the upper hand can turn at any moment, given the hubris or given the actions of any other particular individual involved. Like when the police showed up, it was like, holy shit, they got this on lock. No, unfortunately they don't. Then all of a sudden, the sequence when she's like hovering over her on the bed, that's and then things keep twisting and turning and you never know what's going to happen. I like that it kept me on edge. And I like the idea that you have these two kind of like mother bears coming at one another, to try and accomplish the same goal, to save the baby for themselves. And then she paid for it. The bad guy pays for it as dearly as the mother herself did. So ostensibly, it all comes down to, when it came down to the nitty gritty, it's all about the life of the child. And so they wind up saving the baby at the cost of the mother's life, but she fucking pays for it. And likely, the only solace I had in this one, because the evil woman's got the baby, the La Femme has the baby at the end. The only solace I had was that chick is likely not going to survive her injuries. It's the only solace I took from this.
Her face is fucked up.
That her shit was fucked. She rocked her like. So I'm thinking likely not going to make it. It's like you have your sorry, no, I almost said sapphic. You have your what's the word? Your Pyrrhic victory. That this was a Pyrrhic victory on all sides. So I have to give it to that. Brutal and unflinching, and you cannot look away. But it's real in that respect. And I have to give the filmmakers that props for willing to go to that extreme and say, this is your nightmare played out before you,
And see, one of the things, and we start talking about kind of differences with American audiences versus French audiences. And honestly, I think one of the biggest things that's influenced how basically America views cinema versus France and Europe is you think back to World War II. Because in France, that was the hot spot. You had battles in France. You had Nazi occupation in France. So when that war is over, what's the point of censoring stuff when you have all these atrocities that are happening in the streets right outside the door? You can't go, okay, we can't show blood and guts despite how many people died all around you. Versus in America, there was no battle in the streets except for soldiers and troops that went over there. It was censored. It was clean. You still had the Hays Code at the time, that people were away from that. And even how we see ourselves in World War II, we're the saviors that we come in. So everything is kind of censored, and we maintain that Victorian style, like we can keep everything neat and clean. But over in Europe, they've already seen the worst.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I guess.
And not afraid to shy away. Yeah.
But I will say one thing that does interest me, it is intriguing about this whole thing. We're talking about how American audiences don't generally get along with anything other than happy endings. That doesn't seem to translate from reading, like novelizations. Because we'll have things that have not happy endings, and people are like, cool, they'll make bestsellers. But when it translates to a film, like, yeah. Like, you hate the ending of The Mist. I think it's fucking great.
I don't hate the ending of The Mist. I hate what the ending of The Mist makes me feel like, because I watched that and I'm like, it was well done. I can see it. It actually follows from the film. Like, the whole ideology, fear makes you do the unthinkable. I get it. It's like, oh, I totally see that as a possible outcome. Fuck, that movie makes me want to eat a bullet every time I watch the ending of it. It was kind of like, son of a bitch.
That's the point.
That's the point of it. Exactly.
Yes.
It's like, because I almost want to be like, no, I just want to just like, maybe I should just like turn this off as they're driving into the mist, and that will be the ending that I'm good with. Nope. I cannot just adjust my head canon like that. They don't fucking make it because fear makes you do the fucking unthinkable. And that's what it did. Fear overrode reason. And he clicked it. And I'm kind of like, son of a God, punch you in the. But how would he know? How would he know? You can't get mad at him because how would he know?
Right.
So good.
Which is the real horror of that, because having to live with that. That's the real.
That's the real horror.
That's the real horror, right?
The consequences of your actions.
Yeah,
and
I don't think he lived much longer than that.
And he probably did, but even if he didn't wind up doing that, canceling his life subscription after the closing moments of the film, even if he didn't do that, it is likely he would not be prosecuted for that either.
Right.
Because
you have a massive apocalyptic event that happened, there's going to be no court system.
It's like the court system be like, well, let's see, giant supernatural monsters roaming the countryside. You thought you were going to, and you didn't want them torn apart horribly. Yeah, I get it.
I can give you a pass.
And now he's got to live with that on his own terms. I'm just sitting here thinking about it. It's gonna like, no.
Yep. But again, that's what makes that type of storytelling so good, is that you are left with a feeling, which is what we're supposed to do as filmmakers, as storytellers. We're supposed to leave you feeling something, and sometimes it's not a good feeling. Sometimes you need to be slapped around a little bit.
It's like writing a really good sad song.
Right.
A song that makes you feel terrible, but it's a good song, but it rips your heart out. But then you play it again so it can rip your heart out again.
Not everything can be Independence Day, where we're all jumping up in the theater and be like, yeah,
Except you got the British audience is like,
Because it has that one line. It's about time the Americans came up with a plan. You're like,
yes,
wow, that's egotistical.
Because we know America. Because America solves problems.
America can always fix it.
I remember just being like, yes, in the fucking theater watching Independence Day. It can't always be that way, and that's why I know it's not for the faint. Movies like this are not for the faint-hearted. There are many of them out there. Some movies you could say proto new wave. There's like proto ones like Salo, like August Underground, that I would say are like kind of like that came out way before like French New Extreme came along. But movies like you said, Martyrs, High Tension, Inside, brutal savagery that ostensibly it's an aspect of reality that we tend to try and run away from because we have not, as a country, as a society ourselves here in this this city on the castle or this city on the hill that we live in. We have not had that experience in our daily lives. It's everywhere else around the world has dealt with that shit.
We haven't dealt with it like on the European. We went to that European extreme, right? There's still places in Europe that are decimated from fucking World War II. We haven't dealt with it on that extreme. But we have dealt with, we had the Civil War here. There's still some relics of the Civil War that, you know what I mean? Again, we're still talking like fucking long time ago. We've dealt with domestic terrorism. We've dealt with foreign terrorism. So we have dealt with it. We just like a young person would do. We have compartmentalized all that shit. Well, it only happened to us because of this. So we can put this over here. We can put it in a box, put it over here. Now it's away from me. I don't have to deal with it anymore.
Don't have to deal with it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas
because we is so helpless without you. This is true.
Anyway, we could fucking tangent on that all day long.
Even Australia, as Cindy says, Canada hasn't either, but it's a constant battle against the cold. It really is. Because that's the war for kids.
And
the cold.
The meat. Don't forget about the meat.
Even Australia had it. It was like the war against the emus. So
fucking Australia has a war against everything.
That's a daily life in Australia. That's why Australian horror is so fucking brilliant and just doesn't shy away, because every day is a survival journey. Yeah. I sent a video to a good friend of the channel, to PhD Tony, who's a supporter and a big fan of the channel. I sent him a video which is like mornings in Australia. And it was like a clip is like fucking Turok. He like walks out of the building and it's just fucking monsters everywhere. And he's like, duh, 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 duh. And I sent it to him and he was like, yeah, it's about it. It's like giant spiders and snakes and fucking lizards and shit all over the place. He was like, yeah, that's about right.
Yeah. I got one of those on my porch right now.
You have like the miss happen in Australia, and it's just another day.
Yeah,
it's another day.
Well, Mike. Oh, it's a maybe that one.
Yeah,
Blimey, that was
nice,
big...
nice and cool out here. I'm gonna grill up the barbecue. You want to come join me outside?
No fuck.
Oh.
All right. So speaking of all these savage and extreme new age French films, I want to know. Let me know. What do you believe is the most savage new extreme film? Let us know at weekinhorror@gmail.com, in the side chat or in the comment section down below. Curious.
Extra J says that when it comes to everything trying to kill you, Africa laughs at Australia.
I mean, yes, Africa has some fucked up shit. Don't get me wrong. But Australia, even the fucking plants are trying to kill you.
This is true.
And that, what is that?
What is it? The
metal thing? Fuck.
Oh shit! Yeah. It's got the silliest name.
It does.
It's got this.
And if you touch it, it puts you in excruciating pain. You want to die.
I have to look it up. What is that? Gimpy? The Gimpy? I think it's the Gimpy plant or something like that. Gimpy. Yes, the Gimpy plant, which is also called, I shit you not, the suicide plant.
Yes. No, yeah, I know. It makes you want to fucking kill yourself because it puts you in excruciating pain.
Have you ever heard of this?
I'm just saying, like, the name suicide plant, you earn that name.
Yes. Okay. Have you ever heard of this? Have you ever heard of this thing, Eugene?
The suicide plant? No.
Yeah, the Gimpy plant. So the Gimpy plant or Gimpy plant. Essentially, it has an extremely painful sting, which may leave the victim suffering for weeks or even months. It is reputed to be the most venomous plant in Australia, if not the world. And after contact with the plant, the victim will feel an immediate severe burning and stinging at the site of contact, which then intensifies further over the next 20 to 30 minutes and will last from hours to several days before subsiding. During this time, the victim may get little to no sleep because of the intensity of the pain. In severe cases, it may cause urticaria, and the lymph glands under the arms may swell and become painful. And there have been rare cases of hospitalization due to this. So, that's how intense this fucking plant is.
That's where, like, you're in so much pain, your nerves get tired.
Yeah.
Because it's just complete non-stop pain.
And that's just a plant. That's just a fucking plant.
Yeah.
That's a plant.
There are stories. There's a couple of anecdotal stories of people like a dude who accidentally used the Gimpy as like toilet paper, which is doubtful because he would have been stung the minute he touched it.
Yeah.
But there have been numerous accounts of horses having like accidentally run into Gimpys or brush up against them and becoming so violent that they have to be arrested.
Yep.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
That's a plant in Australia. Never mind the fucking taipans or the fucking the spider. Never mind the great whites and the fucking saltwater crocodile. Never mind the fucking dingoes. Fucking hell.
So much pain you can have a heart attack. Yeah. Let me see here. But someone else said, "Where's that place with the bullet ants?" Bullet ants are in the Amazon.
Yes.
Those are the ones that when they sting you, when a bullet ant stings you, it feels like getting shot. Eugene's like, what the fuck?
Like, yeah.
There is a tribe in the Amazon that a test of manhood is they weave bullet ants into these two gloves. Okay, they weave them into the gloves, and you have to stick your hands in them.
Yep, I will not be a part of that tribe
and not cry out. And you have to accomplish that task, I think, 10 times in order to become a man.
And see,
I'm a little boy.
And see, that's the brutal. This is the thing about the brutal part of that is because it's multiple times. Because the first time, you know it's going to be painful, but you don't know quite extent. You can't fathom the extent the pain's going to be. Once it happens the first time,
and you know how bad it's going to be. You know how long it's going to last, and then do it 9 more times. As like the guy who broke his arm, or the guy who severed his arm for 127 hours when he got stuck under the boulder. He said the worst part of breaking both bones of his arm wasn't breaking the first bone, because he's never broken a bone before up to that point. It was breaking the second one, because he knew how bad it hurt.
He knew it was going to be bad. Yeah, the s4e Mawe people of Brazil, they use them as part of their initiation rites to become warriors or leaders. The ants are first rendered unconscious by submersion in a natural sedative, and then 80 of them are woven into gloves, which resemble big oven mitts, and that are made of vines and leaves with the stingers facing inwards. When the ants regain consciousness, an initiator repeatedly blows smoke at the ants to agitate them and make them more aggressive. And then once it's done, the initiate puts the gloves on and keeps them on for 5 to 10 minutes or longer. Afterward, the boy's hand and part of his arm are temporarily paralyzed because of the ant venom, and he may have the shakes uncontrollably for days after the fact. And then to fully complete the initiation, a boy or man must go through the ordeal, 20 times over the course of several months or even years.
No, I'll be a berry picker. Thank you very much.
I honestly, I would like to know what kind of outfits that they wear that can hide those huge balls that they have.
You can see, you imagine that tribe coming up. It's like the first member to get stung by a bullet ant. This is how you make a man. And that was the reasoning.
You got a bunch of other tribe members like, what? Why can't we just run across, swim the Amazon, or wrestle a fucking snake? No bullet ants, buddy.
That's why that tribe still exists to this day, because somebody comes along and they just watch with this ant. Like, what the fuck are you gonna do as a human being?
I'm good.
You cannot punch someone in the face hard enough.
Oh, good stuff.
Yes, we are delaying because I don't want to talk about this next movie.
Oh, this was not too bad. Come on. What do we got, Eugene?
Bad. It was bad. It was really, really bad.
Paint by fucking numbers.
Joshua Lee just say extreme movies, Ichi the Killer, which is, an intense one. Yeah, Ichi the Killer was hardcore. I Saw the Devil, Human Centipede 2. There's some solid ones out there, but yeah, the extreme.
People said Martyrs.
Martyrs. See, I got to go with Martyrs as far as new extreme. Martyrs took it to the level, and once again, the American remake literally defanged that film. But the French one, son of a bitch, man, I was left out of breath.
Oh, Tony Regime, that was Coyote Peterson who did that.
Here we go. Are we ready for this?
We're ready for this.
Last, we have,
and certainly least,
we have Wish Upon, released July 14th, 2017. Roll it.
Hey, Carl, look at this.
Seven wishes.
Trying to drive here!
I wish Darcy Chapman would just go rot. It's given me everything. Money, love.
At what cost?
You have to get rid of it.
Everything will be fine! Everything will be fine!
There you have it. Wish Upon, directed by John R. Linetti. You have starring Joey King, Ki Hong Lee, Sidney Park, Elizabeth Rom, and Ryan Felipe. And
basically make his alimony payments, apparently.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's a very, very expensive alimony payment. And basically, in a nutshell, you have Claire who ends up coming across a box that grants 7 wishes, but every time you make a wish, someone must die.
It is the perfect example of why angsty teens do not deserve godlike power.
Also, a perfect example of why directors shouldn't be giving shitty scripts to do.
Yeah, it's so bad. It doesn't touch on any of the themes that it could touch on. It's just you have this girl that's not likable and selfish, and she keeps wishing upon different things. And then you have the kills, which are taken right out of Final Destination.
Oh, fuck. So I'm going to read this description that I gave you guys after I watched it. Hang on a second. Because some people have already picked up on it. It's the Monkey's Paw meets Final Destination meets Hellraiser. Oh, and sprinkle in a little Wishmaster.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what this piece of shit is. I'm sorry.
Well,
I know there are people out there who put their, time and effort and whatnot, and the performances are fine. Ryan Phillippe, he actually does a fairly good job. It's not the players, it's the movie itself is just garbage. It is fucking terrible. Technically, fine. I have no problems with the cinematography. I have no problems with sound design. I have no problems with the technical aspect of the film. It's fine. It's perfectly fine, perfectly passable. They made some really, really good choices and decisions when it comes to the things they were trying to accomplish, at least visually. It's the fact the movie is just bad. This is a terrible script.
It's a bad script and bad direction. That's the people in charge of the actual story itself. Because you're right, the cinematography, production design, all of the kind of stuff, it's good. It passes. The movie never looks like a low budget movie at any point.
Right.
It looks like it's just a very professional Hollywood looking movie. That is perfectly fine. But the thing is you have the main girl who's not likable at all, because it's a lot of selfish reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she's willing to make wishes on little stuff, knowing that people are going to die. And then she gets upset that people die, but then she keeps making wishes. And it's just this.
Well, I will extend this in jail. And I talked about this earlier. I will say at first she didn't know this is what was happening.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. In the very beginning, you
understand.
don't know. But once she realizes what's going on, and then she keeps going.
Yeah.
It's such a catch-22 because we normally talk about don't read the ancient languages, like don't read aloud the ancient language. But unfortunately, the warnings for this were on the box itself, and if she read the ancient languages, she probably never would have done it anyway. But my biggest issue on this one, like obviously, yes, we have the Tony Regime says this film needed a storyboard by Eugene. It probably did. The biggest failure on this one, I think, is the territory that was left unexplored. Stories like this are like, for example, and I'm gonna go to another kind of American film that has the if you look at The Grudge. So you look at Ju-on, a Japanese horror film, then you look at The Grudge, the American remake with Sarah Michelle Gellar. I really, really enjoyed that one. And one of the primary reasons why I enjoyed it is because it doesn't just leave all the elements, like the Japanese elements behind. It doesn't ignore that and place it all in America. It actually weaves it from the Japan story and then goes all the way through. And that informs the entire film. The ancient Chinese mythology that goes behind the box, the demon that's involved with it, the history behind it, is anecdotal to what is going on. That's unexplored territory, which I felt would be really, really interesting. And the idea that they touch on the possibility that this box, that the demon that is inhabiting this box is deliberately altering reality to grant these wishes. The wishes don't come true in funky ways. Like I wish for world peace and everybody vanishes, like except for you, like in the X-Files. It's not like you have to be specific. Your wishes come true as you intend them to come true. Fantastic. That's great. But the problem is somebody dies as a result of that. But the person who dies and the effects of that death are deliberately intended to affect the user to get them to make the next wish, which is what a demon would do. Is like the whole point is you make 7 wishes and then you have to die at the end. That's the sacrifice. You get 7 wishes, and then upon the wishing of the 7th one, you are the sacrifice that completes the cycle, and then someone else, takes the box, and and the cycle continues. So unfortunately, they did not explore deeper into that territory. That was excellent storytelling material that was never mined in favor of this kind of like, and I have to say, I have to bring it up. Extra J brought up, I thought of myself, the craft also kind of like meets the monkey paw, because there were elements of the craft in it as well. And we see how those, playing with magical forces, if you don't know if you can't, like, the outcomes are never what you expect them to be. Normally you wouldn't do any of the shit. Not to mention the problem with that, the craft had likable characters. This one, she's not a likable person. And they stress that she's the problem. She is the reason for all of her problems, and trying to make them go away via magical means is not going to solve them. There's that kind of like the moral of the story there. The one thing that I really got out of it, because it kind of like pushed me out, the missed opportunities, was I did not mind Ryan Felipe getting, iced with a chainsaw. I didn't mind that at all, because
see, that's the issue, is that it's like, okay, well, someone has to die. And if maybe they died in some supernatural way or something that didn't seem preventable, then I can get behind that. But you have these Final Destination style deaths, because it's like,
some of them aren't Final Destination style. They are just straight rip of Final Destination.
Just straight weird, like getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
But I mean,
the Sherilyn Fenn's sequence in that.
What I'm saying is, like, when she goes down the stairs and then she sees her dad outside standing under a guy using the chainsaw, the most stupid way you could use a fucking chainsaw.
Just dumb as shit. Just so like, please tell me Ryan Felipe is gonna get just eat this chainsaw, and he did, and all was good with the universe. That all was made up for this entire movie. But Sherilyn, I will say this: the one good one that gets me, and this won't hold for everybody. It doesn't even salvage the film in and of itself. But the sequence with Sherilyn Fenn did kind of that tension there, because sticking a hand in a garbage disposal is a natural kind of like fear of mine of what can happen, of what having worked with them and been in maintenance, I know what a garbage disposal can do. And that sticking your hand down in one is always, that's why I learned very early on, always unplug the disposal before you do anything. If you're ever going to be doing it, always unplug the disposal first. It's very easy. Go under the sink, unplug the disposal, then you can mess with the disposal inside. Do not stick your hand in the disposal when it's fucking plugged in, and especially not when the switch to turn it on is at waist height on the counter, so you could accidentally bump into it. That sequence got me, but then I was kind of like the hair in the disposal is like, really.
Yeah. The disposal sucks that fucking much that it was able to pull her hair into it from fucking 6 feet away. Fuck off.
And it didn't scalp her. I guess it like broke her neck against the counter, which is kind of like odd. It's like but to do that,
you have a wind turbine.
It's like a fucking diesel engine. It's like a diesel engine garbage disposal.
Fucking hell.
The thing has to like rev up.
Sarcasm says garbage disposal, definitely a nope hole. Well, in more ways than one, my friend.
It's just this whole thing everything was telegraphed. Like they tried to do the whole the red herring death with Ryan Felipe and her friend, right? Like, we thought, this is when Ryan Felipe died. Like, no, nope, sure, it's gonna be her. It's gonna be in the fucking elevator. She set it out the whole thing. Well, what goes up must come down. Like, this bitch about to die. As soon as she said that shit, it's like, she's gonna fucking die in the elevator. This is so stupid. It's so telegraphed, so bad. And sure as shit, they're dead. Just wanted to make this movie.
Nemo 13 says the garbage disposal was powered by the Turd Polisher 9000. It was.
So.
That was
no turd polish in this one, though. This is just a very bad.
Although it was nice. It was nice to see Barb from Stranger Things in this, which I thought was kind of cool. It was nice to see that actress. I think
there's another one they tried to red herring us with when she fell down the stairs. Like, no, we're not falling for this shit. There's no wish made. Fuck off. And she doesn't die. Like, there you go. Very good.
It's just, and this is why this movie's just kind of faded off. I mean, it came out in 2017 and it's already just gone.
Right.
Like, there's just no one's talking about this film. No one is like, hey, let's go check it out. No one, it's just kind of already vanished off in the ether. I guarantee we'll probably never bring this up again unless we're talking about a movie that just vanished.
I will say good production value. They brought Jerry O'Connell in who in an uncredited cameo as the previous owner of the box. And all the family stuff that was around him was all like they were pictures of his family, like his legitimate family. So like the picture of his family, that was Rebecca Romaine and their kids. And I was kind of like, oh, that's kind of neat. They actually went there. So it was Jerry O'Connell using his actual like real life stuff in order to do the scene. I thought that was kind of cool. There was little bits there that I thought were cute. Just like little like, oh, neat things you can catch, but otherwise. And especially in the kills,
Okay,
I wish they'd gone.
First of all, you're talking about like, okay, the best part about this movie is a cameo photograph.
Is an uncredited cameo. Is an uncredited cameo and a prop decision.
Right. Way to go, prop master.
The serious.
I forgot. This also. Did I say meets Hellraiser? Did I add that this is also a Hellraiser?
A little bit of that. Yeah, a little bit of that as well. Yeah. Ex Machina in the Machina. Thank you, Liam Wakefield. Absolutely. The issue, I mean, and also, the thing that, that probably could have saved it was if the kills had been a little bit more, if we'd seen a little bit more, maybe a little more original, or if we'd actually seen the brutality of it. The elevator one, they spent the most money on, and that was the most detailed one because the elevator crashes and the door opens and her like body falls out and shit.
Yeah.
But really to see what was happening, we want to see that. That's the shit that would have elevated this film a little bit further above.
For me, it's just the fact that everything was telegraphed. It was so badly telegraphed too. They weren't even trying to hide the fact that it was just when I say paint by numbers, like when you're making a horror film, there are certain beat points that like if you're in a class, right? You're taking a Eugene Sir Hawkins class of horror filmmaking. And this is the course, and Eugene's like, all right, so we're there are beat points that you want to hit in a good film, and a good horror film, right? Mm-hmm. And here are these beat points. These are the types of things you want to do. You're gonna get that one lazy filmmaker. It's like, oh no, those are the exact beat points I'm gonna hit, and I'm gonna hit them exactly the times that Eugene or Mr. Hawkins has written them on the fucking board, and I'm gonna make a movie. And that's what they did with this thing. They took all the bullshit fucking beat points that, honestly, like this is like Halloween H2O style fucking beat points, and they put them in there like, this is great, it works, it's so grand. We need an inventive death. Oh, I know. Let's take all the ones we saw on Final Destination. Those were kind of cool. Put them in there. We need a creepy prop that opens up and then does things. Oh, I know. I saw one in Hellraiser. Let's modify that a little bit. Yeah. Put that in there.
Good design. I would say good design in the box. I like the box. The box was kind of cool.
Sure,
that was it was an interesting little prop.
Once again, the prop master came through.
Yeah. Prop master. Congrats to the prop master, man. You really handled your shit.
Honestly, the best part about this movie was the production design, was the crew, right? The unsung heroes. Like, nobody talks about the cinematographer on this. Nobody talks about the gaffer. Nobody talks about the sound technician. Nobody talks about the prop master. Those people, those guys, the people in production, the people who handled all the technical stuff did a fantastic job, because at no point during this movie did I ever criticize, well, I can't see anything, or what the fuck did this person say, or what does that sound? At no point did I ever criticize the technical aspect of this film. It is, for lack of a better term, perfect, technically speaking.
Yeah, it never ever reveals its budget. Like, it gets to like, oh, they clearly didn't have the budget to do something. They had the budget to do everything they wanted to do, and it was that part. What they wanted to execute was executed very well. A lot of it came down to the directing and the writing. That's where it fell apart quickly, is because it was 100% safe. And you know what would have made it more interesting is, instead of having these kills where they seem like Final Destination style, if you had some kind of a creepy creature that would kill people, so you can build up a little bit more tension, and it's like you can see the effects of it. You don't know who the creature's going to kill. That could have been more interesting than, oh, here's a chainsaw that falls off,
or the demon itself was unleashed and literally went out. Yeah, that would have been intriguing.
Yeah, like if instead of the lady tripping on a rug.
Oh, tripping on a rug in the dark and then impaling her fucking head on her sculpture. Yeah, that was
maybe instead it was the demon who fucking kicked her leg out from behind her while pushing her forward,
or scared her by appearing to her, and then in her panic she wound up, something like that happened.
Better.
That would have been way more interesting. And then you establish a creature. We don't know the exact rules of this creature. This creature can do whatever. to kill its victims, that could have been way more interesting than what we got.
Extra J says Eugene Hawkins School of Filmmaking discussion on timeline. And at this juncture in the storyline, shit gets real.
Yeah.
Right here. Between the second and third act. I don't got anything else for this film.
Me either. I ran out of fucking Charmin.
Yeah. And, the last thing, it helps if like your main character is likable.
It's a popcorn film.
You know, here's the thing.
It's a popcorn film that's designed only to yell at the screen. That's all I really got. I was just, why would you wish that? It's like, I want him to fall madly in love with me. Why would you ever wish that? Ever? Yeah. It's like, that's one of the dumbest wishes you could possibly make. I mean, come on. The Craft told us that.
Right.
What
I would say about, you talk about the likability of the main character. She was okay. Again, I didn't necessarily have a problem. She wasn't like somebody I was like, oh yeah. I was glad the fucking car ran her over because I meant the movie was over finally. But it's her character arc was bad. She wasn't bad. Her character arc was bad.
Right.
Again, the performances from the players, like the acting, they were good. They were not. It wasn't like, fuck, man, are you reading a cereal box? No, everybody, the small characters, they did their jobs very well. It's just when you're given fucking shitty modeling clay, like not Play-Doh but dough play, you know what I mean? The wish.com version of modeling clay, and told to make fucking, hey, I want you to sculpt the David statue. First off, that was made out of marble, not modeling clay. And second, you gave me shitty modeling clay.
Why does this stuff smell like bird seed?
and that's the thing. I'm glad he made a distinction because the acting itself was not bad in this film, and I don't want to knock the actress.
Oh, Joey King. Joey King is very, very talented. I mean, if you've seen her in some of the other stuff that she's done, the Princess was a fantastic one. I love that. She was great in that one, and of course, the one where she plays the girl who's being kept sick by her mother. Her and Emma Paulson.
Munchausen syndrome.
Story that was
like the true story one. Yeah, she did. Yeah, she's fantastic. She's
Joey King is great. Yeah.
It's like the directing, and just a script overall. So
yeah.
But we've talked enough about this film.
Yes,
I want to ask the audience, what would your wishes be? You have 7 wishes in the movie. What would your wishes be? Let us know in the comments below or shoot us an email at weekinhorror@gmail.com.
Keeping in mind that each wish you make, someone's going to have to die.
Someone has to die.
See, here's how you beat these evil wish master ones. You just, I wish this box was never made. Oh no.
Oh no. But then if it was never made, then all your wishes come undone.
Yeah, but
because it was never made for you to have it in the first place.
Oh well, okay. Shucks, everybody's alive. I don't have to worry about getting hit by
it's difficult. It's difficult for me because I was telling Johnny, for me, it's kind of like that movie The Box, where like a hideous Frank Langella comes up with the boxes. Every time you push the button, you will get $1 million, but someone somewhere in the world randomly will die. And then so you have to wait, what are you doing? Stop. What are you doing?
I'm poor.
I'm a billionaire.
Yes. It's like, believe me, before, my circle of loved ones is so small. The odds of it actually occurring to them, there's a lot of it. It's like, really, that's the case. Okay, we're good. Yes.
Yep.
It's like motherfuckers just be dropping out there in the world. Travis Brown says none. I just throw the box away because you're a better man than we are, Travis. Sir Cab says, wow, universal basic needs of humanity met with capitalism or religion. One wish done. Nice.
Yeah. Help everybody out there.
Yep.
Oh, love it. So, yes, definitely let us know what your 7 wishes would be. I'm very curious to hear that. And given that was our last film, you know what time it is. It's motherfucking trivia time.
JL would give himself carpal tunnel.
Joke's on you. I've already got it. My wrist hurts so bad.
I can't feel my fingertips.
And it wasn't from typing. Oh!
There's a laser sound.
Self-zinger.
Poof.
All right. Tonight's trivia question. The first person who gets this answer correctly in the live chat wins a Mr. Ed from the Week in Horror store. What's this? Cindy says the original story ended with the woman pushing the button and her husband dying. Oh, okay.
I don't think she was like,
oh, well. So the first person to get this correct answer in the live chat gets a Mr. Ed from the Week in Horror store. Be sure to check out the link for that's in the description if you want to check out the items that we have there to really, really help support the store or help support the show. But yes, here we go. The trivia question for tonight is, get those Google fingers ready. What Argentinian filmmaker is considered the most prolific new extreme filmmaker?
Eugene Hawkins. Oh, fuck, I gave away the answer.
What Argentinian filmmaker is considered the most prolific new extreme filmmaker? Correct answer. The first correct answer down in the live chat will win an item from the Week in Horror store. Let's see what they got. See what they got. I know those answers are going to start, but people are okay. It's taken a minute for an answer to come in, which means people are looking. It's like, what is it? What is it? Come on, I know someone's got something.
We got an answer coming in.
Let's see. Andrew.
Negative.
Not Martel.
Angel Rivera, not Lucrecia Martel. Sir Cav's not Paula Hernandez. Nemo 813, nope, not Ava Peron's husband. Liam Wakefield, boom, has got it. Yes, the answer is Gaspar Noé. Gaspar Noé, and Joshua Lee was following right behind with Gaspar Noé as well. And Sherry Tilley, not David Ubina, but Gaspar Noé, yes, is the most prolific new extreme filmmaker. Virtually every film in his filmography is considered French new extreme. So congratulations, Liam Wakefield. Let me get your name down. Excellent. Well done. And be sure to get us your shipping details. You can get those to us at weekinhorror@gmail.com or via Discord. Just message us and get us your shipping details so we can get that printed and sent out to you. So congratulations, bud. Well done.
That's a good one here.
Alan Smithy. Yeah.
All right. And that's you horror fiends. We'll close out this week's episode of the Week in Horror podcast. Let's turn to a goddamn trap club again. Thank you so much for joining us. We truly hope you enjoyed the show. And if you did, smash those like and subscribe buttons and be sure to hit that bell so you never miss a future episode. Join us next week when we look back at the legendary Vincent Price horror, The Fly. The savage, supernatural, World War II horror, Ghosts of War. That was a mouthful. That's what you're doing. Killer corporate culture in Office Uprising, and the return of Mr. Boogie. Still not a good name in Sinister 2. Be sure to check out Josh Olsen's store at badsamurai.store. He does all the awesome artwork you see splattered all over our merch, which you can find over at Teespring. Go check it out. For more Week in Horror, check out all the bloody links in the description. Follow us on the socials for the Daily Splatter, which is your daily horror recommendations. Join our Discord for watch parties, big announcements, and all kinds of horror shenanigans. And you can support the show through our PayPal link or through our Patreon. Join the higher tier for early content access and behind-the-scenes fun with the crew, or even just support the show for as little as $1 a month. $1. What are you waiting for? Join us. Join us or die. No, fuck. As always, thank you all for being the greatest audience a horror film podcast could have. I'm some fat guy.
I'm Eugene.
And I'm JL.
We'll see you next week. And remember, stay happy. Or stay home. Hot mic.